Hello, American Literature 1 in fall 2026. This is our introductory video. I will try to keep it relatively brief, just kind of walking through what the course looks like. I'm about to share my screen and share some important information with you. I will periodically do just kind of mini lectures like this, or go over assignments. But yeah, I just wanted to make this connection, walk us through what a normal week module looks like. Since our class goes from Wednesday to Wednesday, this is going to be posted on a Wednesday. So let me share my screen. Maybe. Here we go. Okay. So, I'm looking at our Canvas class in student view. So this is what it should look like for you. Um, Going to start at the top. So this module at the top of the course details and resources. This is where the syllabus lives, our text list and course schedule, and then some American literature resources and some writing resources. So this is a module that you're going to hopefully go back to and revisit throughout the semester to help with your assignments, whether you're having to do some research. I've provided you with some great links. If you need some reminders about MLA formatting and integrating quotes, it's all right here. I'm going to open the syllabus really quickly just to go over some highlights. Hopefully you've looked this over in the last couple of days, and I'm sure you've noticed as the semester begins, your syllabi look very similar from class to class. But it's really important that you note the areas that might be very different from instructor to instructor, whether it's late work policy or AI use policies. Those are really different, and you're responsible for knowing and adhering to different classes' norms. So, the top, the information about this course, this is American Lit 1, so beginnings to 1865. And then, of course, American Lit 2 picks up after the Civil War into the present. It's 3 credit hours. We meet online and it's asynchronous online. So that means the opposite of synchronous, that there won't be a time where we all have to log in at the same time together. So it's up to you to pace yourself throughout the week. And we'll talk about that in a couple of minutes because that can be challenging. But our course week goes from Wednesday to Wednesday. So the new module will open on or before Wednesday at about noon. I'll sometimes try to open it a little bit early, but you can expect the new week to be refreshed on Wednesday. With most assignments being due the following Wednesday at midnight, except for our discussion forums, when sometimes your initial post will be due by the following Monday. My name is Lee, so you can call me Lee or Ms. Kolb, whatever feels comfortable to you. My office is the Union campus, and I am here a lot. All of my other classes are in person, so if you're on the Union campus, I encourage you to come by, meet me, say hello, chat about things, ask questions. If you're not on the Union campus or you are only available to meet in the evening, I'm happy to Zoom with you or talk on the phone as well. Email is the best way to get a hold of me generally. That's how I respond the quickest, typically within 24 hours, unless maybe it's the weekend. In Canvas, I will use the Canvas announcement a little bit more often for fully online classes, but I want you to really get in the habit of checking your email at least a few times a week because you're going to get important information via your email from the school and your instructors. So for our purposes, I will often communicate with you again via Canvas, but my email is always open, and that's a really quick way to get a hold of me. Um, so email. Email is good. No matter if you have a question, a concern, no matter how small or insignificant you may think it is, please reach out and ask. I really appreciate it when students advocate for themselves and ask me questions because if something is unclear to you, it's probably unclear to your classmates. So again, course overview. The course description is pretty much the title of the course, from the native roots, far pre what we know as America or the United States, up through the Civil War. Um, the prerequisite, you needed to have gotten a C or better in Comp 1 or Honors Comp 1 to take this course. So hopefully that is the case for everyone. Required textbooks. So this, I was about to grab the wrong book. Well, I'm not going to waste your time. I thought I had the right one next to me. I asked you to have the print textbook for this, the Norton Anthology of American Literature, Beginnings to 1865, the shorter 10th edition, Volume 1. So there should be plenty in the bookstore. Hopefully you all have that. Let me know if you've had issues procuring it. But I do ask that you have the print edition. I recommend the Little Seagull Handbook. If you don't have that, if you haven't heard of it, that's fine. But if you're taking Comp 2 right now, or you were required to purchase it, because we are now requiring it for the composition sequence, and I just want to remind my literature and media studies students that it's helpful for all classes that you do writing in. Anything else aside from your textbook, I provide to you. So videos, other articles, links to websites, I provide them in Canvas. Um, a lot of this is the same from syllabus to syllabus, so I won't take too much time. I collect your written assignments as PDF files. So that means if you're using Google Docs, if you're using Microsoft Word, as long as it is properly in MLA format and saved as a PDF, that's going to be fine. But do remember that you have free access to the Office 365 suite as a student, so you can utilize that. Course outcomes and competencies. So this is the list that if you show up and do what I ask you to do and I do my job, you should walk away with these outcomes, that you'll have knowledge of literary texts, historical contexts, and relevant biographical information of authors, the ability to read and interpret multiple genres of American literature. We run the gamut from oral tradition to letters to poems to speeches. We really hit so much in this course in terms of different genres. Analyze the impact material forces of culture, like ethnicity, class, gender, and geography have in shaping literary texts and individual subjectivity. Synthesize select theoretical ideas in interpreting literary texts, and conduct independent scholarship in the completion of course projects. So none of this is probably shocking. As a literature course, you're going to be doing a lot of reading and writing and making connections. But hopefully, yeah, you walk away from this course with all of those outcomes and feeling a deeper appreciation for American history and literature. Our institutional student learning outcomes. So again, this is on all of your syllabi in terms of what we assess for, that we hope students um, complete these outcomes as students at ECC. This course is in the critical thinking is low, and your final essay will count toward that assessment. So you don't need to worry too much about that, but it's important information. Core 42, this is a Core 42 class, so it has that MOTR or Missouri transfer number. If you go to any other public college or university in Missouri and many private ones as well, this will easily transfer in as American Lit 1. Um, as a quick side note, Core 42 doesn't mean that every class you take at ECC should be a Core 42 course. If you do the math, most of your degree programs are about 60 credit hours. So you want 42 of those credit hours to be Gen Ed or liberal studies courses that are Core 42, but that gives you 18 hours to play with in terms of electives that may be specific to your program, that you may want to explore other subjects, and those classes may or may not be Core 42, and that's totally fine. Course summary. So this is a 3 credit hour fully online asynchronous course. So I think they really want us to manage students' expectations, that online courses require a lot of self-discipline, and that the math of college credits is that a 3 credit online course You can expect at least 5 to 6 hours of independent student engagement per week. So if you think about a full-time load of 12 to 15 credit hours, that's kind of like a full-time job in terms of the credit hour math. Now, I know that for most of you, this isn't your full-time job. You have other part-time or full-time jobs, but it's just really important early in the semester to kind of get in the rhythm and figure out your schedule with the knowledge that it's going to be more than 3 hours that you have to spend per 3 credit hour course. In this class, your time will be spent predominantly reading, watching some short videos, and writing. That's going to be the bulk of American Lit 1. You need Canvas. This is where I explain again the Wednesday to Wednesday schedule. Um, okay, and always reach out if you need anything. So this course outline, it's the anticipated course schedule. I want to say first and foremost, if we get to week 3 and I don't post a discussion forum, what's happening in the course, in the weekly course modules, supersedes this schedule. So you'll never have to kind of magically know that something is happening or that something is due because it's on the course schedule. This provides it's a pretty solid outline of what we'll do all semester. But you're still going to need to go to that course assignment in the weekly module to get the specifics. And again, things might change. But you'll notice that many weeks there's a discussion forum and reflection. Some weeks there won't be a discussion forum. I don't want to have a discussion forum just to have a discussion forum, because that can be really kind of tedious in online classes. So you can kind of scroll through and see like what's due, what you need to turn in that week. But the topics and readings will take a great deal of your time as well. And you'll notice too that each week we have our readings from the textbook and then some linked articles that typically explore other topics in American history. Oftentimes there's a kind of a matching of eras of topics, but you can see here in this outline that, literature of exploration and Puritanism. Week 2 will explore Salem witch trials, show up in Module 3. So there may not be readings in your textbook, but there might be an article or a video that you watch to illuminate some other historical event. Week 5 we go on a little Hamilton journey between the original texts and the musical. So I try to cover a lot of bases in this course. And you may not be fascinated by all of it, but hopefully some of it you will be. Um, okay. This is a method of student evaluation. We might have a few fewer points in the course, but this is again a pretty solid representation of how you'll be graded this semester. And as you can see, it's almost all writing. The quizzes that you'll take, I will never ask you to memorize things or take a closed book test or exam. I care much more about your analysis and kind of thinking about and expressing about the literature that you're reading. Traditional grading scale, I do accept late work. So I want you to know that and kind of keep that in mind, but also not get kind of underwater by doing it too much, if that makes sense, because you can really easily kind of get snowball of chaos if you are like, oh, I can turn that in late, and then all of a sudden the next week's stuff is due, and that feels kind of very unsustainable. So keep that in mind. I typically will grade your assignments within the week. So I try to get you graded assignments back before you turn something else in. Really important that you look for feedback that I might give in the comment section and sometimes on the paper itself. Um, Longer assignments, like the bigger essays, might take up to 2 weeks, but that is kind of what you can expect. AI use policy. I mention this in your getting to know you quiz. So hopefully you had looked at this and kind of digested a bit. Every class you take at ECC should have that first sentence in the policy. That's our kind of our general policy that we don't accept generative AI work as the student's own work without attribution, and that violates the academic honor code. So in this class, and this next sentence is one that might be different from course to course. In my classes, any content generated by AI, such as ChatGPT, but also kind of the really aggressive Grammarly changes that kind of rewrite your own work, I treat that as plagiarism. So everyone seemed to respond okay with that, kind of all on the same page. The entire point of this class is for you to read, think, and write analytically. I want your brain. I would rather your weird, authentic, interesting thoughts than something that is sounds robotic and perfect. I grade holistically. I grade your writing holistically for your ideas and certainly the clarity of ideas, but I'm not looking for perfection. So please try to kind of believe that and internalize that and know that I want your authentic voice. So please be aware of this. I do utilize Turnitin, the plagiarism software. I don't see it as the end all be all. I will always reach out to you and say, like, hey, this is kind of flagged as 90% maybe AI. Why might that be? It's always a conversation. I do not jump to conclusions. But please adhere to this in this class. Trust yourself, trust your brain, and ask for help when you need it. Classroom and online conduct, again, kind of following the student conduct policy. We are adults and will behave as such. Attendance matters. You need to not only log into the class each week, but engage and do the work each week. So please remember that. Okay. If you see or experience discrimination on campus or online, whether from peers or faculty or staff, please report it through the proper channels. I'm a safe person to come talk to if you're not ready to like immediately talk to a vice president, but we do not want that environment on campus. Access services, if you had an IEP in high school, and you don't have accommodations here, I encourage you to go through the process and meet with our access folks in the Wellness Services Department. They're incredible and helpful. So advocate for yourself. Watermark, the Learning Center, we have online tutoring. There are a lot of benefits to you as ECC students, and free therapy with our wellness team. Take advantage of those opportunities. Okay, and then the text list. I have in this module, underneath the whole syllabus, there's a file that is just the course outline and the text list. I encourage you to download that and use that to kind of map out the semester. And what I will do in your weekly assignment, okay, I'm going to toggle back and forth here. I'll open this assignment. So each week, your assignment will be on a page like this, and it will say read, watch, discuss, write. And here, this is maybe not the best example because I give you the exact page numbers, but some weeks I will say read Columbus through Williams. So you'll need to look at your text list to see the specifics of that. So I'll really want you to engage with your text list over the semester. Do not panic as you look at this list. I know it's very long. Many of these are brief excerpts or poems. I try to be reasonable with our reading assignments, even though I do ask you to do plenty of reading. This list might look a little bit more intimidating than it actually is. So keep that in mind. Okay, so I'm going to pop back to this week's assignment and look at that. Again, you see that we're reading the introduction to the first era that we're looking at, and then reading some pages of Native American oral literature. So that's kind of the beginnings of, again, our nation, what we consider the United States. This goes pre that history. And some linked articles. watch the intro PowerPoints, linked videos, and this week we do have a discussion forum and week one reflection. So always click on modules to look at my class. And you can collapse them, especially when we get to like week 8 or 9. You'll want to collapse things and look at week one. The introductory video, obviously I'm recording it now and then I'll replace it. But when I say click on link on top of box, this is what I mean. When I link to YouTube, for example, and some other links, there's this little sad face icon. And if I were you, I would think, oh, broken link, it's dead. It's not. Click here on this title and it will take you to the site. Now, if I actually have a dead link, I check every week, but please do let me know and I'll fix it. But that little sad paper, just click on the title and it will take you to the site. So we have this playlist on YouTube that we'll go through throughout the semester, and you'll notice in the assignment that I say, oh, I'm sorry. Oh my goodness. The motion sickness. Okay, YouTube playlist. Watch the creation story through Joseph Campbell. So I open the playlist, starts with the creation story, and here's Joseph Campbell. So take stock of all of this on Wednesday. So when the week opens, you're like, okay, how much do I need to do? So if you open this and see, okay, I've got about 30-ish minutes of videos. I'm going to watch half of them tomorrow and the other half on Sunday. Like, pace yourself. And the short videos will supplement things that we're reading and discussing in the classroom. And I will tell you this when it pops up, but sometimes there will be a really long video, and I'll say, this is optional. If you're interested in this topic, bookmark this, watch it for later, but otherwise they should be very brief. So you can kind of see how the week is laid out. The intro PowerPoint, that is from like your textbook site, so there are some kind of cool images and timelines. The YouTube playlist. These two websites, I say explore and bookmark because there are a lot of links and a lot of little videos and they're just really interesting, but I'm not expecting you to like read every single thing on that site. And then tips for writing a reflection. This is a great handout. It's at the top of the page as well. And your two assignments for the week. So a reflection and a discussion. This video is much longer than I expected. My apologies. I will encourage you to break it into two when I tell you about the video being posted. So the reflection, this I ask you to take the introduction to the textbook that you've read, focus on one specific passage that highlights something that you find really interesting, and then identify it and reflect on it. So when I say reflection, you can use first person point of view. I don't want a summary of the thing. I want a brief intro and then you responding to it. Why did you think that's interesting? Are you connecting it to something that you think about today? Is it something new that you learned and never knew? There will be a lot of different reflections here, and that's really cool. That's what I expect. So that is your reflection for the week, your writing assignment, and you'll turn that in as a PDF. And then the discussion is about the Native American oral literature. I give you 3 prompts to choose from. And I'm toying with this, so we'll see how it goes. Try to make your first original post before Monday at midnight, and then respond to at least one student by Wednesday at midnight. So please try to kind of adhere to that schedule. It still is showing up as due on Wednesday at midnight, but that's kind of the complete discussion forum. So try to make your original post by Monday. Okay. I have just talked your ear off. Most of my videos won't be like this, but since we're just starting out, I wanted to be clear. Now, and I mentioned this to some of you in the Getting to Know You quiz feedback, but I'm currently an online student as well. I talked a little bit in the intro forum, but I've been teaching and plan to continue teaching, but I'm getting a second master's degree as what one student called a healthy midlife crisis. So I'm an online student, and it's been really fascinating and challenging to be a student after all of these years of teaching. And my classes are in Canvas, it's through Mizzou. So I just wanted to share a tip that has really worked for me. I find the first week especially really overwhelming. So I have two online classes. Some of you might have more, but I use a reporter's notebook, so it's long and thin. And as soon as my course is open for the week, I'll have two headings for the two courses that I'm taking. And I go into the assignments and I write down exactly what is due each week. And I use this as a checklist. Something happens in our brain when we read and write it down that helps things click better than if we're only looking at a screen. So I can't encourage you enough to do that. At the beginning of each week, click on the week one assignment and write down what the expectations are each week. Um, I promise it's helpful. And if you're taking all online classes, get a big legal pad. So a week by week checklist. I was thinking of you all because I did that last night with my new classes that have begun. And within minutes, I went from feeling really overwhelmed and kind of mentally chaotic to, I got this because of that process of reading it and writing it down. So that's my big tip for this week and trying to stay organized. But I'm so happy you all have taken this course. I think we're going to have a really good semester. If you need anything, if you have any questions, always reach out. I'm really, really happy to help. Um, and again, if you'd ever like to stop by, I'm on main campus just all the time. So more to come. I am so sorry this was such a long video, and best of luck in week one.